When I got diagnosed, they said I not only had cancer stage 2, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, they said I had TB. So the TB meds that they gave me made me very sick. And for 4 days, for 22 hours a day, before I started chemotherapy, I was throwing up. And I thought, here, I had already had my biopsy, so I had a big bandage here. The cancer on my neck was really throbbing and hurt. And in 8 days, I was supposed to start chemotherapy. That is the treatment we decided on. And I told my husband, I was so emotional when I got diagnosed. I said, honey, whatever you tell me to do, I will do. I think that's the first time in his whole life he ever heard me say that. I was diagnosed with cancer, and he almost had a heart attack. When you're sick, you get very humble. It's like, honey, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Oh, my goodness. And he wanted me immediately to do chemotherapy. And so, but before chemotherapy, I was very sick from this medication. And like I said, I was throwing up 22 hours a day and 4 days. Now, there are some people who have watched loved ones and sick people languish for months. But I didn't know it would just be 4 days. When you're in your days, it seems like forever. When you say 4 days, it means nothing when it's, in the past. But I would get up and roam around the house when everyone else was sleeping, crying, hurting. I just had a biopsy and all my bandage. And in August, I was in the hospital in August with pneumonia and dengue fever together. And then in February, then I got diagnosed with cancer. My sister came to be with me, and the first month she said, oh my God, Satan's trying to kill you. It's so obvious. But when I would be roaming the house, hurting, feeling nauseated, throwing up, the whole everything, on the fourth day of that, I was roaming the house, and I laid down on my couch, and I said, Lord, I want you to take me home. I want to go to heaven now. I don't want to live anymore. Please take me. Now, when I think about it now, I ask God to take me home because I love heaven. I've been there so many times in my spirit, man. When I read the Word, I go there. So I wanted to go. I didn't know how to go. I don't think you can just hold your breath and go. I didn't want to kill myself. I felt I was already dying. And so I sat there on the couch and I said, Lord, I want to go now. I don't want to be here anymore because chemo is supposed to start in 8 days. How can I start chemotherapy feeling this way? And Lord, so just take me home. So I wrote my sister a letter. I said, I have a plan. I've asked God to take me home. And then I emailed Pastor Paul because he had a cold and he was sleeping in the office. So I wrote him an email. Honey, I've asked God to take me home now. So I want to die. I want to go to heaven. Well, my sister's weeping and crying in America. Pastor couldn't believe my email. I didn't want to fight. And then I said this, Lord, I'll stay. But Lord, I can't fight. For those 4 days, I was nauseated. You can't eat. And so I had this plan, and I wrote my sister, I just want to go to heaven now. That's what I'm going to do. I'm believing God just to go to heaven. And, but I prayed. I said, Lord, on that fourth night, and I tell you, there was so much peace. So the people in ICU or loved ones that say, I want to go now, you can stand for them, of course. But when you get to a certain place and you just want to go, there's no crime in going to heaven. And I said, Lord, if you want me to stay, I have to be strong. That means I have to, I'm telling God what it means. That means we do that in prayer, don't we? We tell God, we explain like he doesn't know. That's so funny why we do that. But I did that. I said, God, that means, sorry, I have to sleep, because for those 4 days I had no sleep and I couldn't eat. I said, I have to sleep and I have to eat to be strong, and then I will fight. Well, the next day, I woke up so strong. I still was on that medication, but I woke up so strong. I wanted to eat. I was like, oh, this is wonderful. Okay, I will live. So I called my weeping sister who just got my email that I want to die. And I said, hey, how you doing? And she goes, what? How are you? Oh, I'm fine. Hallelujah. Her emotions were like, oh, my goodness. And then finally, a few days later, they took me off that TB medication. And I must say, to the glory of God, I've been strong. Through the whole journey, my sister, she decided to come and be with me through the whole journey. She showed up right there at my first chemo. And all of you who prayed, your prayers saved my life. I know that. I know that. Amen. And your prayers are saving other people's lives. Well, after, was it the second or the third chemo, vena cava? After the third, I had to have a CT scan. And in that CT scan, it showed something that they rushed me to the hospital. But I was so tired, I didn't even look at this CT scan. My sister is a doctor's assistant. She's a medical person, so she read it, and she called the doctor, pastor and her, and they said, get me to the emergency room right away. I didn't even know why I was going. I was so tired, from medical things. So I was there, and finally, when they checked me into a room, I said, why am I here? Well, my doctor called me and said, so we're on the phone. He says, we think you have a blood clot in your, where was it? In this, by your heart. I said, oh, okay. So they're giving me a shot for this blood clot. Okay, and so what happens with a blood clot? He goes, well, it could move to your lungs. Oh, when? Anytime. And then what happens? I asked him. He goes, you die. Oh, when? And he said, immediately. Oh, that's exactly what I said. Oh. And then another doctor came by and said, no, I don't think it's a blood clot. I think it's an inoperable tumor. Oh. And so they wanted to do this procedure where they take a needle up your vein and put dye in it to check my vena cava. Do you know that? Did you even know that you have a vena cava? It's called your inferior vena cava. I know everything now. No, not really. And but when that one doctor said he believes it was, and he was speaking more to Stacy because he was speaking medical terms to her, and when she translated it to me, he was saying, get your third chemo, go to America right away, have open heart surgery, but this tumor, if it is inoperable and she will die. Well, when you hear these things, and all of you prayed on I think it was a Sunday, and I was going to have that procedure on a Monday. Doc Eileen was there with Stacy. And I thought it was more like a CT scan, but no, it was a whole operating room and 20 people there, and it was shocking. And I had my wig on. Who puts a wig on when they're going into I didn't know what I was getting into. And my wig was falling off. It was quite funny in that setting. And so that night when you were praying, and I was lying in bed before, it was Sunday, and Monday I was going to have this procedure that would show if I have this tumor. So that night when I was in bed, I was lying there thinking about the procedure the next morning. And the Lord said to me, get out of bed, Shoddy. Get out of bed while you guys were praying here. And so I got out of bed. And I had a room that had windows on an L shape. And so I looked out to the sky and I said, Father God, I love you. And you told me to get out of bed. And you told me to speak to this mountain. And so I'm going to speak to this mountain. This mountain. My body. I'm going to speak to it. I did not make the promises. You did. You told me that if I would call the elders of the church and they would pray over me, the prayer of faith will save the sick. And we have done that, Father. And you said the prayer of a righteous man makes tremendous power available. You said that, Father. And Father God, you told me, whosoever shall say unto this mountain, be cast into the sea, and will not doubt in his heart, but he will believe. He shall have what he says. Now you can be all extreme, but when you're standing between life and death, I said, Father God, your word declares in 1 John, this is the confidence that I have, the confidence that we have. If I ask anything according to your will, I know you hear me. And if he hears me, I have the petitions I ask. So, Father, I thank you. And body, you listen to me. You are a created thing that house my spirit man, my eternal spirit. So I speak life to you as you were praying. And then I stopped praying. And Pastor called me, and I could hear all of you praying. And I said, honey, I have decided I will stand and believe God. But tomorrow, if they show a tumor, I will not go to America and have surgery on something that's inoperable. I will live out my days in grace before God and go to him. Are you in agreement with that? And he said, yes. So be it then. Now that might sound double-minded to you. That might sound wishy-washy. One minute you're declaring and the next. But through this journey I have had to find there must be rest and peace. You cannot heal yourself. I will battle, but I must surrender also. I do not find a contradiction with that. Maybe others would. So the surgery, or not surgery, but the procedure happened, and the doctor that we are in love with did the procedure, and they found nothing. And he went out and told my sister and Doc Eileen, and we said, praise be unto God. Oh, our God is great. And he heals, and he delivers. How powerful is our God. How awesome is our God. And I pray he is awesome in your life. I pray that nothing hinders you from God. Pride, nothing. That your arms are always uplifted to him. Fight, yes, the good fight of faith. And have peace with God through the storm. Speak peace in the storm. Have wisdom in the storm.